And I hope if whoever's hearing this, the one thing to take away is challenge yourself in the next year to prioritize yourself. Get yourself out of a toxic relationship. Get yourself out of a toxic business partner relationship or partnership. Get yourself out of areas that are causing you immense stress, because you cannot think in abundance when your environment is under threat. And you need to sanitize, just like some Purell. You need to sanitize your environment, and you need to get some antivirus software for your brain, because this is a new world we live in. A pandemic happens once every 100 years. This is it right here. What happens in pandemics? Massive change. People change. Psychologically, we change. We have changed. We're rewired now because of what the pandemic has brought to our lives.
Oh, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Austin Lewis here, coming to you guys with actually our first ever episode, the Rated A Show, ladies and gentlemen. And actually tonight, I have the pleasure sitting next to me here, and I don't even want him to talk until I edify this dude and just share with you what's in my mind about this guy, because this dude, the first time I ever actually met him, completely blew my mind. Okay, it is Josh Snow. Of course, I don't have to do an introduction because you guys already know it's Josh fucking Snow. But this dude is the legend of all legends. This dude is so methodical. This dude is such an absolute genius with not only just what he says, but every move he thinks, every move that he talks, every move that he makes with his foot, or if it's with his hand, or with his head. It doesn't matter. This dude is an absolute genius, and which is why I interviewed him last time on the A&A Show. As you guys know, this podcast is no longer. It's actually called the, I think it's like Austin Zabak Show. Shout out to Austin Zabak. Go subscribe and do all that other good shit, because there's plenty of room for winning, which we all know, right? But Josh Snow here, my first guest on the Rated A Show. And if you guys are not, obviously, one, liking the video, then you guys definitely have something wrong with you. And two, if you guys are not subscribing, then you guys absolutely have an issue. But most importantly, the gems are going to be dropped tonight with Josh Snow, which he's been interviewed probably 2,000 times. Probably less than, probably like 1,500. Am I not close or close?
I stopped counting.
Yeah, exactly. So probably a lot, okay? I'm just excited to have him tonight, because the first time I interviewed, I still watched the episode today, bro. Coda's like, she loves me so much, because every single time that I go to sleep at night, I always listen to podcasts. And I don't listen to them like the Holton Bugs way, where I just put them under my pillow and nobody else can hear it. Like, just me can hear it, because the pillow, it just like kind of like suffocates the audio, and just whoever's above the pillow can listen to. I listen to them just fucking blaring. You know what I mean? She fell asleep to the TV. I can't do so. I listen to audios, and I just listen to it. And I've listened to our episode on the A&A Show at that time, right? Probably like 200 times. And when people ask me all the time, because again, I've been doing this for years now, and I've had a blast doing it. And I think, honestly, the reason I do this, to get a background story on the Rated A Show, which is why I said Josh is not going to talk for a second, because he's actually the first episode. The first episode is going to get a couple million views, and it's totally okay, which is why I'm kind of going into this, is I've listened to our episode so many times, and I've had so many people, like, it's so crazy, like, on podcasts, on, like, the different, like, social media platforms, right? You have so many avenues of listening things, right? People in ashwagandha can just listen to some sort of platform, right? And I didn't even know what I was posting on, but I had so many DMs, so many people always ask me, Austin, what are your like top 3 people that you've ever interviewed in your entire life? Coda's heard Josh Snow out of my mouth more times than she's actually ever heard anybody out of my mouth, okay? And the reason being is because I was so mind blown by Matt Maddox. I'll call him right here, okay? My top 3 interviews: Matt Maddox, Josh Snow. Josh Snow's obviously number 1. Matt Maddox was number 2. My number 3, surprisingly or not, okay, it's not surprising, but was Bryce Cleveland. Those were my top 3 episodes that I actually, Daniel G was obviously a runner, but he talked so fast that I couldn't understand what he was saying part of the times, and I think I talk fast, but Those were my top 3 conversations that I actually like built a connection. Like Matt Maddox's interview was insane. Josh Snow's interview, I was like, bro, I should probably drink like another bottle of whiskey to kind of understand what he's saying. Because this dude is so mathematical. He's so genius. And he's like, dude, you're a legend in my book. So the fact that you're here with me tonight on Friday night, fucking thank you.
I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to be here. This is a really nice space.
You know, well, oh my God, it's crazy. Conrad, which is obviously shooting the show right now, he's like, Austin, do you have any idea what you're going to talk to Josh about? And I was like, bro, I have absolutely nothing. I've actually never done that. I've never jumped into an interview. I don't even want to call it an interview because it's not an interview. It's more of going to be a conversation. And the conversation is going to be questions, but at the same time, it's not going to be questions because I can figure out how to ask the questions without it being like an interview. But question number 1 being, right, like just give us an update on your life. Of course, you do thousands of podcasts. You're massively out there. You own, is it the number 1? It's number 2 or 3 oral care brand in the world, right?
I stopped counting that as well. But
Sweet.
I think so.
So probably.
We're up there. I would say we're if we're not, we're definitely the number 1 most followed brand on social media.
For sure. I don't follow Crest, and I definitely don't follow Colgate, but I for sure follow Snow. How funny is that? You probably follow Snow. If you guys don't follow Snow, go follow Snow. Here's the
at
Instagram
Snow
right
on Instagram.
Yeah, how easy is that? You know what I mean? It was so funny that actually the day I met you, I was going with a rally, and we were headed up to Sedona.
Oh, yeah.
Sedona.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we were with Creative Bespoke, which is obviously Sai Solari, and you pulled up in your i8, and on the back of it, it said Snow. And the whole time we were driving, okay, my mind's in the gutter. I apologize. Okay, and I was just looking at Snow the entire time. And I was like, Snow, this is so weird. But how crazy is this that Snow, like the teeth whitening company, like that's like a legit thing. You know what I mean? I obviously was not thinking about the legit thing. I was thinking about some other things that was Snow, but Snow teeth whitening. And now it just happens to be probably the number 1 oral care in the world. And not only just that, but when it comes to teeth, right? The problem with me is whenever I look at you or whenever I see you, 1, you're never self-conscious because all I'm looking at most of the time is your teeth and how like it reminds me that I need to figure out my stuff. Let's dive into this really quick. A lot of the last time I interviewed you, the thing, like the most thing that blew me out and completely blew me away and like honestly like left me thinking, and not only just that, but obviously you and I are like friends outside of the podcast, and like we've met up more times than just that one time, was the fact that you're always so methodical. And the last time that we talked to you about that, it was because you were like, I actually talk to people that are older than me, which obviously, like, you know, I don't know what other people have to think or say about that. Of course, older than me could be like, they could be 21 and they're talking to people that are 24 or something like that. But like, just share with me because I'm genuinely curious. Whatever the guests or whatever the people that are viewing this think is what they think. More importantly for me, okay, what does that look and feel like in Josh Snow's world, right? You're 29?
29, yeah.
Yeah, you're 29. Okay, your birthday was December 2nd.
You got it.
You don't even got to Google that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, December 2nd was his birthday. He just turned 29. Happy belated birthday, first and foremost.
Thank you.
How are you such a methodical human? Because, dude, I pay so much attention to you, bro. Everything you do, you're so methodical with.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that I get a lot of credit. I'm issued a lot more credit than I feel like necessarily I do in terms of some of the things. So I'll be, I won't be too bashful. There's certainly a lot of strategy, and I don't know. This is my sport, but business is a lot of fun for me. It's extremely challenging, which is part of what keeps me addicted to it. It's incredibly fulfilling for me, and I think that being methodical, I wasn't always that way. It's you're a product of your environment, and your environment includes your mental environment, your thoughts, your beliefs, your values, your moral compass. And so I think as I've accumulated more personal wealth, even on a smaller scale, it created a sense of more and more security for me. And I think the sense of security, and sense of security, by the way, doesn't just come from money. It comes from so many things: your mind, your environment, your home, your relationship. So the sense of security, I think, is super important. And when you have a sense of security, you can operate from a mode of abundance versus scarcity. Scarcity is, I need to do what I need to do for myself. So I need my business to be successful before I can help other people. I need to, it's scarcity is operating from a place of fear, and fear, security, a lack of security or a sense of security. And so what does that mean? Well, you're going to perhaps make much more short-term decisions. And that's because you simply don't have that sense of security that you're seeking in business or in something else, in a job or a relationship. And so I would say I've had to become, and so scarcity, abundant is operating from a place of optimism and community and understanding that more plus more equals more. And it's not necessarily like kumbaya. It's simply, how do I create, like in the business world, how do I create a business that can feed 100 families instead of just my own family? That means I have to think bigger. I have to think longer term. I have to make decisions that are a lot different than when I was starting in my career, because starting out with no money and trying to figure everything out, for me, I was so focused on the next $1 million opportunity, but the $1 million opportunities aren't enough to provide for a lot of great people. And what I found out is that the bigger of an impact you want to make, the more people you have to involve. And so you have to have a way for other people to not just make money, but for them to feel, to have a sense of security and to have a sense of fulfillment in the 1/3 of their life they're spending working on your project. It's very important for that. And so over time, I moved from scarcity and that mode of thinking in terms of survival, just because that's how I grew up, not having much and I kind of figuring it all out. But over time, I realized, wow, wait a second. If I involve more people and I create opportunity for more people, we can crowdsource the work and we can get way more done. And it allows me to spend more time thinking and problem solving and putting out fires and whatever it is, and also working on the 2-year vision, the 5-year vision, and refining that and using that, being a visionary. But I would say the methodical came in where I realized in order for me to have a competitive advantage, especially for younger businesses, the younger you are, the higher the propensity to kind of shift into different projects and all those things. And so I think that discipline eventually started to set in, which meant that I could take advantage of being methodical, that I could play multiple chessboards at once. And yes, you have to make a move, and it's about massive imperfect action. But for me, I realized that if I'm methodical, I don't have to work as hard. I don't have to expend as many resources. And it's a better deal for everybody. It's a better deal for my team. It's less risk. And so I would rather, I'll give you an analogy. I'll give you this analogy. Would you rather fish, or would you rather, be hungry for 2 weeks, weaving a net that will allow you to, catch more fish with less effort, and eventually everyone's going to be working for you, and then you start an export business in the fish. But if you're just having 3 guys out there with a fishing pole, you're never going to have capacity to provide for more people. And if you decide to convince 2 or 3 of your friends to say, hey, we're not going to eat for 2 weeks because we need to be weaving a net for 12 hours a day, but you got to believe in the vision that once this net is done, your family will not only never have to worry about eating again, you will be very, very rich. And so that net gets a patent. You license that patent to every country. You have a fish exporting business. The entire village works for you, because why would they fish like this when they can just pick up fish that's in the net, and they get a cut of that for their family? So now you've fed the entire village. And that to me is, it takes delay of gratification. It takes discipline. And the younger you are, the more difficult it is to delay gratification.
One, based off of what you said, which was absolutely unbelievably phenomenal. Okay. One, what is your fear inside of business? And then second, what is your fear outside of business? And like a lot of people might be like, Austin, like what, like how did, like, where did that even come from? And where that came from, Josh, was I was like, you put all of the pieces together, which I personally, I am not afraid to say that I am not a perfect human. You know what I mean? I've tried building multiple different things, and I've built a lot of different things. Well, one, nothing like yours, first and foremost. So hats off to you. But second of all, like I have had very similar thoughts and tried to put some of the puzzles and pieces together, but it just hasn't. It wasn't it was a meshed up puzzle that wasn't the puzzle that was there. That's why I'm asking you. One, what's your biggest fear in the business, like in business, and then two, what's your biggest fear outside of business?
Biggest fear in the business is losing relevance. I think every business should be. I think every business is
popularity.
No.
Okay.
Relevance.
Okay.
Because, popularity, I guess, through usage and people depending on your products and services. But relevance, it's why we advertise. It's why we create new products. It's why we adapt our products. It's why Nike and Apple are constantly adapting their marketing campaigns. And so every company is seeking relevance. The moment it loses relevance in the consumer's mind, enough of their customers' minds, they go out of business.
Is that why Coca-Cola still has commercials?
Yeah, I think so, but they have a lot of relevance. They continue to amplify their relevance to secure it. But
okay.
So the fear in the business is losing relevance, and really ultimately, in any business, it should be running out of cash and not being profitable.
Sure.
And then outside of business, I would say my biggest fear is impact. I would say not impacting. The people around me, the people close to me, the people around me, not having the level of impact where I feel that I've done a good enough job. And I've been working out that ever since I started doing okay in business, and not just from a financial standpoint, but just thinking about that. And I would say outside of business, Powerhouse Mastermind is about impact and multiplying our impact with other entrepreneurs and helping them get more time with their wife and family. And like, to me, that's a great multiplier effect. In our nonprofit, we're helping underserved high school students all around the country gain access to higher education and financial aid and business education, entrepreneur education. And to me, that is super important to me. And then inside of my business, being able to have the impact to create that opportunity as a person and in the business, but as an entrepreneur, as a person, is creating that opportunity. But I also, with that impact, chasing that impact, I'm not willing to sacrifice my personal life. I'm not willing to sacrifice my what I want as a person in terms of having a family, one day, and all of that. I want to be able to not sacrifice that in the, seeking too much impact. And it's dangerous. It's a slippery slope.
Sure.
And
which I want to get into.
Sure. Let's get into it.
I need to go see somebody for my ADHD because I have 7 things I want to ask this dude, but or 7,000 thoughts, but 7 things that I just need a computer, I think, for next time, so I can just look at you and just
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
I mean, I need
a typewriter.
Yes, a little typewriter. You know what I mean? And think, because otherwise I'll forget shit, and the shit that I'm thinking about is actually really good. So I want to get into the aspect of what you said lastly there, which I already forgot. But it was the family,
it's
and
work-life
your business.
balance.
My first thing, which I wanted to bring up, is the Power Room. Okay,
Powerhouse. Yes.
Powerhouse. Excuse me. Powerhouse is when I saw you start that. Okay, it came off of your vibe, your energy was more so hey, obviously this is, regardless if you know Josh Snow or if you've ever sat down with Josh Snow or if you've ever if you've ever seen Josh Snow, he's always hey, I'm Josh Snow, but let me talk about you. Like, hey, I'm Josh Snow, but like, what do you have going on in your life? Every single time that I talk with Josh, it's always, I find it so weird. And he's so methodical, goes back to that. You're so good at being like, hey, Austin, like, yeah, what do you, like, let's talk about you. And I when I leave that conversation between me and you, I'm like, damn, I wanted to talk about what does he got going on? That's where I fault, right? Like, I'm like, damn, like, he got me so good. He wanted me to talk about me. When I should really be asked, like, I want to talk about him. You know what I mean? Like, it is, but like, you're so good like that. But when I saw you, like, Powerhouse, right?
Yes.
When I saw you open up Powerhouse, and I was like, damn, this is an opportunity for individuals. This is an opportunity for people to get to know Josh Snow. But not only just that, but for him to give you what he's given me at like an expert level. But more importantly, he's doing it because he wants to, not because he has to. Mm-hmm. And it was more of the, like, one of those things that you were just having, like, you're just having fun with it. Right. Because you're so good at what you're good at. And I think that, like, is something that you've massively, like, mastered. And I'm sure, obviously, you'll get interviewed and you'll be on, you've already been on massive podcasts and things like that. But I think, like, you'll get interviewed, like, you'll get, like, noticed by, like, the biggest of all big people when it comes, like, I already see you on Jimmy Fallon. Like, I'm not, like, crediting him and saying, like, his show is, like, so fucking insane and good, but he's got a lot of eyeballs and he's got a lot of people. And the only reason I say, like, a guy like that would reach out to you is just for the sole fact of, like, you just know how to hit every single person at every single second at exactly the right time. Like, if you were running the 40-yard dash and the coach was timing you and he was like, okay, Josh, you can only hit the 400. I promise you would hit just the 400. So when you started the Powerhouse, I don't know why I want to say Powerhouse. Powerhouse. Or Powerhouse, shit, I'm sorry. So when you started the Powerhouse, that's what I was so amazed about. I was like, fuck. Like,
let me tell you something about that, because this was, I had wanted to do that for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
But the label guru was so.
You've already done it. Now you're just getting paid for it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was.
And you're spending more time on it.
I had this thing in my mind where I was like, I don't want to charge for education, and I had this thing around, and it really prevented me for 10 years from helping a lot of people. But we don't make much money more than we need to pay our people to keep doing what we're doing. And I realized that I had this imposter syndrome. Although I had generated hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, I still had this imposter syndrome in my mind that was like, no, you got to make $1 billion and then you can teach. And it's like, wait a second. I really enjoy sharing what I'm doing, because the stuff that we're sharing, half of it is so cutting edge and it's so out of left field, because I have brought on such amazing team members in my businesses and partners that I am fortunate to just think most of the day. And because I have the opportunity to read and think and challenge thoughts and also work with my team to brainstorm and think, I'm thinking. And because I have my hands in multiple pots in different industries beyond snow, I'm able to take those learnings very quickly and apply them across the board. And sometimes when things get really hot, it's stressful. But the guru thing held me back from doing something. And my partner Lo Silva reached out to me. We were friends at the time. He reached out and he's like, hey man, this is kind of what I'm thinking, what I want to do. I want to keep it super authentic. No ego is allowed. Leave your ego at the door. We're going to start by being focused on online brands, owners and e-commerce founders and CEOs. Let's focus there. And we started there, and we filled the room so quickly because I made it very clear that I said, hey, I never want to make a lot of money doing this. It's very important that we put every dollar we make back into this brand and back into the team. And now we have such a kick-ass team, and it is so incredible. And look, I would do it for free, but people, you know how that works. If you do it for free, I've got 24 hours in a day. I want to do it right. And the people there, the community that we've built with Powerhouse of not just e-commerce founders, offline business founders, et cetera, it's a certain element, because I think we're probably one of the few communities that will ask you not to join if we feel like it's not the fit, because what we're doing is very, very intentional. Like I spent like more than half of my life making enough success and helping others reach their success so that I can choose who I hang out with and what I spend my time on. Why on earth would I ever give that up again to become a guru? No way. But what I want to do and what we want to do and what we're doing is helping guide the modern entrepreneur who's had some success, because we do have a minimum. It's hard to help someone with our team and just the level where they have the most experience. You got to be making a couple of $1 million a year in order for these tactics to apply to your business immediately. But that's okay. We can't help everybody. So we have about 200. That's our cap on our community. And then we have a larger free group, and all the podcasts and everything that I do is free. And I never hold back. Like, that's my thing, is I'm moving and grooving. So like, I am happy to share. And the more that I share, the more that I receive. Yeah. And it's like, it's crazy for me. I just only have
abundance mindset.
It's the abundance mindset. That's it right there. But that was tough for me to get into the Powerhouse, because now because of the work that we've been doing on Powerhouse, and it's one of those vibes where it's just like, if you're meant to be here or not. And and either way, our door is always open. We're here to help you. Yeah. That's great. But that led to me becoming a mentor on goingpublic.com, which is the entrepreneur.com TV show, where we're taking, up to 5 companies public on NASDAQ. And so those opportunities, by putting myself out there, and I coulda, shoulda, woulda if I did that 10 years ago, but I decided to stop worrying about what people were going to say or think about me. Yeah. If I'm doing it with true intention and I believe that it's helping people and I see that it's helping people. I wanted to be a doctor growing up because I wanted to help people. That is what I want, impact. And so I'm not going to let the perception of what that means, and I'm going to keep it true. And it's been a huge success. And we have really, really seen it. We just passed our first year with Powerhouse. And it's really, for me, I feel like it's important to, do good, while, you're doing great in your business, and you can do both at the same time. It just means that, I get a little less personal time. I get a little less free time because I'm adding that to my plate. Yeah. But my cup is so full. I'm drained at the end of the events, like completely drained, because it's, back to back to back. But my heart is so full. Like I feel so fulfilled. Yeah. It's almost like a form of therapy for me as well.
You're doing what you need to do.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels right.
Okay, that leads me into like my next, like the next segment for me. And that is like diving into how you had mentioned family, right? So I guess before we mention like family and dive into that, and obviously you're in a committed relationship over a couple of years, and like you're talking about family and like you're talking about work, and like, you just said earlier, like combining the two, like it's very difficult, but then you just had said that like it's very fulfilling for what it is that you're doing, and what you're doing doesn't almost feel like work. It's very exhausting. My first question for you really, and this is solely for me, so I apologize if this means absolutely nothing to you listening to this, but do you get exhausted? Do you get tired? More importantly, mentally, do you get tired?
Yes.
What do you do?
Yes.
What do you do? Fuck. I don't know if I should go shoot guns. I don't know if I just go drive cars. But like, honestly, for me, like that's been like a massive struggle for me, is because do I feel like I'm doing some of the right things? Absolutely. Do I feel like I'm doing some of the wrong things? Absolutely. But I'm also like, it's welcome to life. Right?
Well, look, it's super important, right? And I don't have all the answers there, but together we're all figuring it out. But I would say yes, and yes. It is, some weeks are absolutely just detrimentally taxing on the mind, and some weeks are fine and dandy, and there's no high on life. And other weeks there just happens to be sometimes timing, like all of a sudden Q4, so all of our e-commerce brands and Snow are all going crazy, and everybody's going all over the place. And I am fortunate that sitting where I sit in the organization means that only the best stuff and only the worst stuff gets funneled to me, right? Yeah. So it's one or the other, and it's kind of like Christmas Day to open up the present and see what it is today. Yeah. And, but I'll tell you this, things that, I have I have a great partner and my girlfriend Charlie, and I think that I'm learning how to communicate, how to communicate to myself about what's going on during the time, and realizing, you've gone through, worse stuff before, even if it's whether it be a lawsuit or it's a dispute or whatever it is, right, that happens in the course of business. As long as you stay focused and you don't lose sight of the forest, staring at the trees, that's what I'm training myself and continue to train myself, is that ultimately everything's fine. And also I've been working on boiling down what are the most important aspects of life for me.
Yeah.
And one of those things is freedom of time. And so for me, I'm always working, of course. My mind's always moving, but in terms of physically being in the office, I've really been strong about hiring such great people so that I can go to the office Tuesday, Thursday, and have more flexibility to solve problems and opportunity, take advantage of opportunities in the business. Yeah. So I'll tell you this: you need to find some hobbies, and it could be shooting, but you need to build a routine. Just like you build a routine and a goal around your business, you need to build a routine and a goal around your personal development. What is the Austin business, right? Like the Josh business. Yeah. Treat it like a business if you have to. What are the KPIs? Yeah. What are the goals numbers for the quarter? What are the numbers? What do I get? What's the reward if I do something? I want to reward myself. Set it up that way. However, you have to figure out I'm particularly lazy. Yeah. So for me, my motivation pattern, what's going to motivate me? There's not very much, but I'm figuring that out, right? And so for me, it's a mix of hobbies, of layering in time for yourself, a little bit more time for yourself. Also picking up reading things that aren't just business and stuff. You got to you need a pressure valve for your mind. And it could be yoga. It could be, like, for me, yoga just is me and yoga, beginner yoga. I love it. Beyond that, it's a little tough for me. But, those deprivation float tanks, I like those. Massages, I love massages.
Do you think when you're doing that? Subconsciously?
I try not, of course. I try not to. I really, really try not to. But usually what I'll do is I'll go in with a simple problem, and I'll give myself like a few minutes in the beginning to kind of just toss my mind around it. Once I'm relaxed, whether it's in the tank or even just watching reality TV, and I'm just like, I'm going to watch 1 hour of reality TV and just not think and just let my mind kind of relax. That what I realized is, and I'm realizing, is the most important work is the work you don't get paid for, which is on your personal life and personal development, and also working on the people closest to you and making sure that you do everything that you can to preserve your environment, which might mean a little bit more out of you to set things up. And that might mean, for example, if you have an argument in your relationship, it's going to absorb your mental focus for at least half of that day, depending on the size of the argument. Yeah. And so making sure that you are watering all of the farm, and not just certain plants, and meaning that you got to be conscious of those. And it's a little bit of pressure, but also what I've been spending most of my life learning how to ask for help. So if I'm struggling in something, like it could be work related, hey, I'm struggling in this project, or I'm struggling kind of thinking about this, can I just say something out loud here for 10 minutes? Yeah.
Are you talking to, I hate to interrupt you, but I'm just so curious.
Yeah,
who are you talking to when you do that? When you're talking about just like that, okay?
Team,
people lower,
Charlie,
or same, or
no, just people around me. No.
Okay.
No, people. Not there's no just people.
Just you.
People
around
that ideally have my best interests at heart.
Okay.
And it can be people that have shared interests, like at work, if it's a work issue, but really learning to crowdsource, because I was hoarding so much responsibility and accountability in my head, that I felt helpless. I felt very lonely and isolated at times, because it's like all of this is on my back, and then it's like I could delegate it, but by the time I delegate it, I might as well just do it myself. And then it's just this cycle, and you have to eventually get to a point where you prioritize yourself. You have to prioritize yourself as the entrepreneur. You're the one building the business. You're in charge. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, you're still in charge of your life. You're the CEO of yourself. So you need to decide, what do you want? What are your non-negotiables? And everything you're doing should be lining up with that. The podcast you're listening to, the friends you hang out with, the shows you watch. I'm not saying go crazy. I watch reality TV. I like to sleep in sometimes. You know why? Because if I don't catch up on sleep, I start making stupid decisions. I start making decisions that are short term or whatever it is. So you got to take care of yourself. And I hope if whoever's hearing this, the one thing to take away is challenge yourself in the next year to prioritize yourself. Get yourself out of a toxic relationship. Get yourself out of a toxic business partner relationship or partnership. Get yourself out of areas that are causing you immense stress, because you cannot think in abundance when your environment is under threat. And you need to sanitize, just like some Purell. You need to sanitize your environment, and you need to get some antivirus software for your brain, because this is a new world we live in. A pandemic happens once every 100 years. This is it right here. What happens in pandemics? Massive change. People change. Psychologically, we change. We have changed. We're rewired now because of what the pandemic has brought to our lives. So I think that you got to adapt. And my focus has always been master, adapt, to learn, be willing to adapt. And I think where I'm at, I'm an old soul, even though I'm young. I've been doing this for 15 years. For me, I want to maximize my impact. I want to maximize my freedom of thinking, freedom of time, freedom of place, so that I can travel when I want to travel, but always be working, because I drive the most value. My organizations generate hundreds of millions of dollars a year. I do that going to the office 2 days a week. It's not to show off. It's not a 4-hour work week. You know, it's not that
mentality. Yeah,
I'm working 400-hour work weeks because I'm playing multiple chessboards. I'm solving multiple Rubik's cubes. That's why people say, well, Mark Zuckerberg dropped out. He dropped out of Harvard. It's like, if you're able to, it's not about being smart, right? It's about having grit, tenacity, focus. And you have to create opportunity for other people to make money so you can make a lot of money. And you rinse and repeat. And the more true you are to your word, the stronger you build your reputation. And I will drive across the country in my own car to protect my reputation, because over a 50-year period, the next 50 years, the compound of who you work with, of your reputation, of the small wins that add up to big wins, that's the business that I'm more focused on. And I'm willing to give up a cut of sales and commission. And we've got the #1 affiliate program in oral care. We pay more than anybody on a percentage of sale for our bloggers and stuff that sell our products for us. And that's okay, because for me, it's less effort for me. They're doing more work for me. So they deserve more. And for me, I'm at a position in my life where I prefer to create opportunity for others. And the better and bigger the opportunity, that's the incentive I have to do, because that means it'll attract better and better people. And so that's a shifting over time of abundance. And that's been my move into the next phase of, how do I not just grow snow, but thinking about the Josh business, because the better I sleep, the healthier I am. I'm horrible about keeping a fitness routine. So that's something I'm constantly working on. But I know when those things are in line, I'm a much better thinker, entrepreneur, leader, listener. I'm just so much better. And I realize that now. And I know in the past I could get away with 16-hour days and not sleeping for 5 days in a row. And sometimes you might be in a sprint and you really got to work hard. Okay, great. But what I'm learning, what Charlie's been helpful with me on, is celebrating the wins, the smaller wins in between, and really staying as present as possible. Because as an entrepreneur, you're like, okay, we hit $1 million day, but that means we should have hit a $10 million day, or that means we could hit $2 million next year. And there's a balance of that that's healthy. You need that motivation. You need that push. You need some type of goal. But also, hey, wait a second. let's freaking party. This was awesome. Like, this is huge. Celebrating those wins. And they don't have to be money related. Anything. Like, hey, I went to the gym 12 days in a row. Like, that's awesome. I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to, get a new ring or something, whatever. So that, to me, I've learned, and I'm learning with help on how to celebrate those wins along the way. And I think it definitely keeps you grounded. And then I would say the more money you donate, or the more time you donate, which is even more precious, to greater causes. And it could be even just, going to the food bank. It could be, that's my challenge is can you spend, like I spend the summer working through the summer program. And I wish I had more time to do more, by the way, throughout the year. But our foundation, that to me is really rewarding. And it makes me a better entrepreneur. What's crazy is that these investments around, you would think like, well, Josh, you got to read more. You got to read more articles. You got to do more, sell more. Yes, that makes me more money. But I actually become so much wiser when I take a step back. And that's the whole idea of working in the business and on the business. But you can't forget the Austin business too. And you got to optimize that piece so that you're better for everybody else, because nobody wants their team captain to go into an Olympic game sick,
Sure.
And so that element for me has been really important. And I find that the more skilled leaders you add on the team, they can sniff that out. And so I have this pressure to be mentally sharp, which means that I have to read and things like that. But I like doing that. Like for me, I love doing that. Accounting, I can do it. I had to do it. Web design, I could do it. I had to do it. Those aren't things that I wake up in the morning like a kid with a new video game and be like, I can't wait to play. For me, it's branding, it's marketing, it's distribution, it's working with people, it's attracting greater people and connecting people. Like that to me is like Professor X from X-Men, and attracting the mutants to the place. Like, it's a geeky analogy, but it's one I use because that's growing up. I watched that show and I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be Professor X, who is bringing all these amazing people together and helping them sharpen their superpowers so that they could use them for good. Like that to me is badass.
Wow. You know what I mean? Exactly. Mind blowing. I'm so glad you cut that off because I was trying to remember so many times. I had like 7,000 questions. But the first two things that popped in my head real quick, that way everybody is aware and they all know, okay? First things first. One, okay, is going to be selfless to be selfish. We'll talk about that. I'll let you dive into that. Selfless to be selfish. That's what I've kind of gathered a little bit from what you had just said. You got to be selfless to be selfish, and or selfish to be selfless, excuse me. And that kind of like feeds, you're a better person, you're a better individual, you can do more, you can spend more, you're more clear, you're more all of that. And then my second question, and the only reason I'm going to say this is for obviously everybody listening right now outside of the camera, which is right now currently 2 people, Coda and Charlie, don't let me forget, I'm going to ask Josh after he kind of talks about that, is what reminds him, what reminds you, what shows you, what allows you to experience and remind you essentially that you're at that next level. And when I say that you're at that next level, what I mean by that is, okay, yeah, you did $1 million in a day. Sweet. Okay. But like, what do you do, Josh Snow, that reminds you that you're at that level? Like you're where you're at. Like you're not just another ordinary guy. Like you're not just, here you are, Josh Snow made $1 million in a year. $1 million in a year to Josh Snow nowadays is like, it's just another ordinary year. You know, like it's not even just that. It's like, how do you remind yourself where you're at, where you're actually at? And you have to have some sort of self-awareness on that, right? Like, which is why my first question or like topic for you is like, you know, you got to be selfish to be selfless, and you have to be self-aware to understand that, like, hey, I need this time to read. Like you said, right. Like you like to read, right? Me personally, I can't read a page. I swear I have dyslexia, but like I don't, because I'm just so fucking lazy. I don't like to read, but I'll listen to audios. But I don't even like to listen to audios because my ADHD's off the hook.
Of course.
I think about a million things. I don't even remember what half the people say.
No, I have a hard time right now. I normally like to read books. I'm having a hard time right now staying focused because there's
Stages of
so
life.
much
Seasons.
going. It's just
You said
seasons.
that.
That's it. The seasons of
Fuck,
life.
that's impeccable.
And so selfish. Let's talk about selfish to be selfless. That just means you got to get your shit together before you can help someone else. And you have to understand what is the environment that's going to be most conducive to your success, because you owe it to yourself and to others to be able to lift yourself up so you can help lift up others. So you got to get moving. And so you got to get really, really focused on yourself, and you got to be ruthless about all of that. You got to stop watching Netflix if that means that it's going to give you an extra hour or two to do something you need to do. It doesn't matter about reading or whatever it is. Right now, I'm able to think a lot. And what I'm doing is, Google is my best friend. So I'm thinking of an idea, and I start to just research. And sometimes this is at 2 a.m. and I can't sleep, and I'm just researching.
You just lay in bed or what?
Yeah, I just lay in bed on my iPhone,
On your iPhone,
and I'm just
Googling.
and it's not every night, but sometimes if I'm onto something and I go, oh my gosh, I'm on the scent of something, I become absolutely obsessed about researching everything that I can about it. And it allows my brain, then I fall asleep, and over time, my brain starts to see it kind of come out as I'm researching. But I only look up stuff that I'm interested in the moment. I'm not, I'm not reading like, Huckleberry Finn and just like reading, you know what I mean? I'm not listening to crime podcasts. The biggest thing I do is I watch a lot of reality TV. That's probably my guilty pleasure is TV. And for me, I don't have to think.
Yeah.
And like the more like raunchy the TV show, the less I have to think.
You like Fear Factor?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Fear Factor, The Challenge. I mean, you name it. So like things like that. That's my guilty pleasure. But being selfish to be selfish is super important. And then the second piece is, how do you know? Well, it's difficult.
Yeah, what reminds you, man?
It's difficult to stay in that. I think the nonprofit program and initiative that we're involved with definitely keeps me grounded and is a constant reminder of where I came from, because I was that exact student. So when you hear these stories, I mean, they're every year they're just more and more intelligent. The students get just smarter and smarter. But that's a grounding piece. And then I also think that looking back at the goals that I used to have, like I think it's important. And I've gone a little bit lax on tracking like those goals, and not just financial goals, just goals in terms of, New Year's resolutions, things like that. You look back on and you say, I remember when, I used to wish for what I have today. I remember when I used to beg and pray and cry for the life I have right now. And because I got a taste of it, it's very easy, right, over time. Yeah. And I've gone through that, right? 15 years doing this, I've gone through the more, and it keeps coming back, right? It's consumerism is the most powerful drug in
and
America.
that's the reason I asked you that, is because one, you're just one genuine fucking happy dude, and people at like your level, right? Like, and I'm gonna say our level, and I just mean like that in a generic standpoint. Like, you can drive the car you want to drive, you can pretty much kind of do what you want to do, and that sake, right? Like, you own multiple fucking cars, and you travel anywhere you want to do, wherever you want to go, and you do that consistently. You know what I mean? And that doesn't essentially like make you happy. That's I feel like a lot of especially as I gain more of a like higher authority, and I'm like reaching my ranks through like, here I am, like, oh my gosh, made $1 million and done this, that, and the third. I'm starting to really realize, because obviously the more successful you are, the more successful people that you hang out with, and you can kind of rub shoulders with those individuals, because now you start to think like them, now you start to get like with them, now you like, and then you of course have to have those mentors and those coaches and those people that kind of take you and pull you up a little bit. And that's why I mentioned that question, is just like, what reminds Josh Snow what Josh Snow truly is because that, I think, is what is going to help a lot of people that are listening to this, that are actually successful, actually doing what it is that they're doing, not comparing themselves to Josh Snow, not comparing themselves to what like I'm doing, not to compare themselves, but anybody but who they were yesterday, is the fact that The cars that you drive don't make you happy. The places that you travel don't make you happy. It's what you do every single day and the little things that we've been talking about this entire podcast, this entire show, this entire time, right? Reminding yourself that, you got to be selfish to be selfless. Taking that time for yourself. Not only just that, but focusing more on you than you are focusing on other people at those current moments. And that there's seasons of life. That's the biggest thing that I've taken for myself and Josh right now during this entire show is the fact that there's seasons of life. And these seasons, tell me if I'm wrong, these seasons might last a year. These seasons might last 6 months. These seasons might last 2 years. Am I wrong or am I right?
Yeah, so I think I'll tell you this. If you're listening and you're having some success in your professional career, whether you're running your own business or not, I've given myself, and I'm continuing to give myself a lot of permission and patience. I'm actually naturally not super patient, especially with myself. But so for patient in terms of like everything that I want or need, I already have, and everything else is a bonus. And putting yourself in the mindset of this is one life. We have 24 hours in a day. Like that's it. We are all actually on the same clock. And, I like the vacations are exciting. I like them. They do make me happy, but they're not my purpose. This is part of my lifestyle. It's part of anyone's lifestyle. But in America, particularly, it's so much driven by work, which is why we're so successful and we're so unique across the globe. But, we glorify the overworked entrepreneur very much. And don't get me wrong, in the very beginning, you do have to hustle and you do have to work. There's no shortcut. I've looked. There is no shortcut if you are not willing to roll up your sleeves and get dirty or get your hands dirty. And if it's not working, be willing to toss it and move to the next thing. Yeah. Because in business, money should flow easily. If you are doing something and it's not making money and kind of easier, move to the next maple tree and try to tap that one. Your tap isn't ready for the one you're tapping. Yeah. And so even though it's $1 billion market, you might not have the experience. Elon Musk didn't start Tesla in 1999. He started X.com, which became PayPal.com, and all these different things that led into where he is. Now it's Tesla, like Jeff Bezos or actually Mark Zuckerberg, right? Yeah. Little video games that he sold little by little. And so many people want to force their first business or their first thing that works.
Industry.
This has got to be the $1 billion one. I would challenge everybody that has that mentality that we think in base 10. In America, it's base 10. Everybody wants to make 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, or $1 billion. I've never asked somebody, hey, how much are you looking to get for this business? 121.3 million with a 21.5 million earnout with 570,000 upfront upon signing. Like nobody has that shit, Pat. They're always like 100 million. Yeah, 100 million. It's like $100 million company. It's $100 million. And I go, wait, oh my gosh. I was like, I don't even need a calculator for this. 100 minus 10 is 90. $90 million is the difference. And so my belief, and we recently acquired a brokerage called Deal Flow Brokerage. It's an online, or it was an online business-focused brokerage, because we realized, wait a second, a lot of people should actually be signing their business right now. Yeah. Because they're burnt out. They may have a great business. They may have a great thing going. But unless you're going, you got to choose, right? You got a junction, but there's never been a better time to sell your business than today. There's so much cash flooding the markets in every direction. Yeah. And some people think about it, man. Like I was talking to one of our powerhouse members who's just an awesome dude. And he's got a great business, and it's a niche business for a specific industry. Anyway, it's a trade. It's a mechanical trade. So, I was listening to him, and over and over again, I said, what matters to you? What's most important to you? My wife and my kids, I said, man, you've got a profitable business right here. You need to bring home the bacon. Sell this business for whatever. If it's a few $1 million, it's a few million more than you have today. Exactly. Bring home the bacon. Put 100,000 in each kid's, college fund, whatever you want to set up there. You guys as a family treat your wife to something nice. and put the money in the account. And now you've got family security. Your kids will go to any college they ever want to go to.
Yeah.
And I go, you understand that you're less than 6 months from that right now. You already won. Like, you're already there.
Yeah.
You're telling me what you want, but then in the business side, you're telling me what you think you want or what people are telling you what you want. This could be a $50 million thing. This could be 10 times bigger. Whoa, this could be a household name. Not every business is a unicorn, right? There are a lot of businesses. The majority of businesses are worth under $100 million in America. So, like, that's not a bad deal, and it's life-changing money. And you know what I did as an explanation is I went to compound interest calculator on Google.
Okay.
And I said, okay.
What you can do right now.
What you can do. And I said, what do you want to sell this business for? I was talking to someone. I said, what do you want to sell this business for? He goes, I want to sell it between 20 and $25 million, maybe 30 million bucks. I go, wow, that's okay. That's reasonable, but okay. You could sell it today for 10 million and get a little bit of an earn out on some of that, up to 15 million, maybe 12 million. Would you do it? I don't think I would do it. I really think I need 25, 30 million dollars. I go, okay, come here. Yeah. So let's type in this compound interest calculator. You sell today for 10 million bucks. You put that 10 million bucks away. You make a small conservative percentage of that money over time. 20, 25 years from now, when your business is ready to sell for 25, 30 million, you might have to go through another recession, hold on, raise money. 20 years, right? And hopefully you're healthy and everything's okay. So you made it. 20 years later, whoa, 1/4 of your lifetime later, you're there. And then you say, all right, now I'm ready to sell it. And someone pays you 25 million. Well, that 10 million that you could have taken 20 years ago would have been worth $43 million, right?
It's like the penny a day double every day.
Yeah, 43 million over the 20 million that you've sacrificed 20 years of your life to maybe get. Yeah. Bird in the hand, bird in the bush. And unfortunately, the media has glamorized and glorified these billion-dollar valuations, these $100 million exits, that there's a lot of opportunity. And keep in mind, it's not just opportunity for the entrepreneur to cash out. It's an opportunity for another business that's buying the business to make it much bigger and adapt and grow and create more jobs. You're hoarding. It's like you're holding the ball. Pass the ball, Austin. Like, pass the ball on the team. And sometimes you have to know when to pass the ball. And that can mean selling a piece of your business, all of your business, maybe shutting down shop if the business isn't working. If you've been doing it for a few years and it's not working, you need to think about, what can I either, one, drastically change in my business now and not blame anyone, not wait for anyone, me figure it out now. Or can I sell this thing? Can I sell a piece of it and just carry a little bit of it? Too many people are stuck in a business that they've forced themselves to become passionate about and attached, and they've told everyone about it, and everyone asks about it. How's the business going? How's the business going? So you have this pressure of like, oh, it's got to be going well. Oh, we're on the Ellen show. Wow. And then you get all this praise, right? And then it's this constant push, and it's like, you know what? Fuck that. Yeah. Like, you have one life, dude. Yeah. You got, like, nothing's going to happen. Like, if your business, you absolutely despise it, you're burnt out, your family's suffering because of it, is there a way for you to call it quits? As long as you stay alive, you will grow. Yeah. And that is the message right there, is that, and it's not a grim message. It's just me saying, instead of sitting here being like, business is great, we make hundreds of millions of dollars a year, all that stuff. There's 100 of my podcasts. Go listen to those. Each one's different. Yeah. Okay, fine. This is about, hey, if you're listening and you're like, shit, I've been trying to figure this stuff out for 3 years in a row. I'm banging my head against the wall. I gotta tell you, business and making money certainly is actually not that hard. So if it's hard for you, it's not the right thing. Money should flow like maple, right? But you gotta have the right tap. You gotta have the right pressure. And see, I like big maple trees now. Yeah. So the whatever it's called, I don't really
Trunks.
know. No, the thing that you hit it on.
Oh, the bong.
Sure. Whatever
dong,
that thing.
Dong.
Well, I don't know.
Dongs?
I don't know what that is.
Gong with a G. It's a gong.
You use a gong on a maple tree?
No.
We're losing my analogy. Anyway.
Well, you said you were tapping it. I mean, shit. The trunk's at the bottom. I mean, what are you hitting? The top? I mean, shit. The leaves? I don't know.
Hey, look, I'm not Canadian. I'm probably not certified to speak about this stuff. But I'll say this. The
what
maple tree.
What are you tapping on a maple tree? Now I really want to know.
Well, you know why? Because it's sweet.
Okay.
Sweet syrup, and syrup's $1 billion business. But what I'm saying is that I'm looking at the maple tree is a business sector, right? It's Forex. It's what's the maple tree? And am I the right guy today to tap this? And so you got to think about it and say, can I build a team to help me? Because this is a huge opportunity. And so I'm focused on those things. But, and that's why I analogize it to maple trees, is that people sometimes will come to me, entrepreneurs, and say, look, this is a huge untapped market,
That's
right?
fresh.
Untapped.
Oh,
Imagine if we just get
so big.
Imagine if we just get one
Voluptuous.
tiny little hole in that maple tree flowing. Look how much would be. That's what people say. If I get 1% of the hair care market, I would be the biggest, right? The billionaire, right? and in reality, look, you look at it, and that's why some people are unfortunately unable to raise capitals, and investors say, you're probably the right person.
Yeah.
That's actually the right tree.
Yeah.
But the tools are not there yet. And I'm not willing to back that, because you're going to break your tools trying to tap into this big of a market. Yeah. So you have to have some type of angle to build there, right? So that to me is super important. And people are banging their heads on the wall after the pandemic, during the pandemic, I guess. I don't even know what to say about it anymore, but we're in it, we're whatever, around it. When it happened, it caused a lot of disruption. Right now we have what's called the Great Resignation, which is more people leaving their jobs than ever before, right? Or than, at the highest points in history. And so what does that mean? Where are they going? Some of them are going and doing Uber, Lyft, DoorDash. They're doing 6 jobs with no benefits, no dental, no health. So in reality, like our job growth, or it's not to get political, but my take on that small piece of it is, well, if I used to work at 1 job and I now have 6 jobs, but they pay me less than the 1 job paid me. Yeah. Technically there's job growth, but like not really. Yeah. And so the truth is,
depends on how you look at it.
Depends on how you look at it. But the future, right? It's all perspective.
Of course.
The future is in people taking the power into their own hands. Not everybody, but people being a little bit more picky in what they're spending time on. The reason why I bring that up is if you're an entrepreneur and you're a leader listening, then you've got to realize that the opportunity that you create doesn't have to be the biggest. Yeah. It doesn't. It has to be what makes sense for you. And it's got to be what's called product market founder fit. You got to have the right fit. So I'm not a dentist, so you would think I'm not the right fit. But I love the idea of oral care being such a large market. And I felt like our flavor that we could bring on it would be unique enough and angle enough for that big maple tree to help us, the right tool. Exactly. And I felt like that was it. But that's part of it. And you got to challenge yourself, smack that tree, and check on it. And check on it every 3 months, right? With yourself and in your business. Is this actually what I want to be doing? Because the beauty of capitalism, America, wherever, entrepreneurship in general, is that you get to create the opportunity you want for yourself first, and you get to create opportunities for others. You delay your gratification, but make sure along the way, don't be afraid to pivot in your business. Don't be afraid to do something radically different and try it out for a little bit. And I want to say that because a lot of business owners are struggling during and after the pandemic. Some have boomed and some have struggled. And some people are out there saying, what do I do? The writing's on the wall. Should I pack up bags and leave? Just remember, as long as you stay alive, you don't start over. You start from growth. Yeah. And it's very important to say that out there, because I lost a lot of time, money, effort, stress, etc. that was put onto me because I was so focused on being successful that I forgot what my actual goal was. And I lost sight of the forest staring at the trees. Yeah. I was so focused on my ego inside of a battle that I lost a war. And so it's super important to realize that you stay with that compass. But anyway, it's a beautiful journey. I would say if you're an entrepreneur and you're taking the path, it is extremely challenging, and I applaud you. And I really admire other entrepreneurs and community leaders, but particularly because I'm a businessman, I really look up to any industry, anybody who's willing to put their ass on the line to create opportunity for others. Yeah. That is absolutely beautiful, and I will fight for that to the day that I die, to support entrepreneurship and because I'm American entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Well, that's why they say, I mean, I'm totally going to butcher this. Totally going to butcher this, but that's why they say, that's why this is the end of the podcast here, coming up here very shortly, but that's why I'm going to butcher this really, ladies and gentlemen, but that's why we are the land of the free and the home of the brave.
That's right.
You know what I mean? American, patriots, whatever you want to call us, just the land of the free. You know what I mean? You can do what you want to do when you want to do it and how you want to fucking do it. And if you can't do that, then you have to figure that part out. But I think what you said there, Josh, was so impeccable because, like, for me in my life, right, I've been here 26 years, almost 27, and you know, I've done a ton of fucking different industries, a ton of different things, and I have multiple different fucking businesses. Businesses I actually don't even talk about today. Like, people don't even know I own some of these businesses, but I don't care to share it. Like, I just don't need to. I don't care. You know what I mean? And it requires no marketing for me to do so. So it's not one of those things where it's like, I've always been that guy, like, growing up a little bit, right? Like, people are like, you always see the memes, right? And of course the memes are worth absolutely dirt, and I shouldn't say dirt, but I should say garbage, because dirt's actually worth something nowadays. But just so many people be like, oh my God, Austin, oh my, holy shit, I haven't seen you in 2 years. Oh my God, what are you doing? You do like 17,000 different things. It's like, well, actually, no, I don't. You may think I do, and I've done, but yeah, I own a couple companies. I do a couple different things. You don't just obviously run Snow. You obviously Powerhouse.
Yeah, but you know what the difference is about that, and this might be helpful for you, is you were shedding your skin in public, because when I was starting, social media wasn't a big thing.
Yeah.
If I was starting, I would have essentially, you went through your growing pains on a public stage.
Figuring it out.
And you're figuring it out on a public stage. Just like a celebrity, is figuring out becoming mega famous.
Simon Cowell figured out he wanted to wear shorts every day of the year.
But I
think it just took him 30 years to figure that out.
But I think that's what it is, Austin, is that because I started, 15, a little bit before, where social media, especially Instagram, wasn't dominant. Yeah. It wasn't common to share like what you're doing in the business. So you were going through your growing pains and your discoveries on a public platform. So for people, when I started really pushing Josh Snow 3-4 years ago, it was Snow. Like it was already there. So like for example, in 2 years from now, if you started from there, it would be more crystallized, because you went through more of those stumbling blocks and refined it. And now it seems like you're doing a lot of stuff, because maybe they assumed Austin's in everything. Austin's in a lot of these things, but that's how you discover. You were just sampling and experimenting super fast in all these areas, but because you did on a public platform, it made the perception of Austin's and everything, which there's a lot of good to that. It's like Austin is on to the next thing that must be making money.
Sure.
But then there's also a lot of power in stability. Yeah. And like with me, and you can have this now too, and you have this now, is amplify that. Is I've found that it's very powerful. Like I could sit here and talk about all the things upcoming and all the stuff I'm working on.
Insane.
But I really keep it focused around Snow, because not because I don't want to talk about the other things. It's the most helpful to the most people. It's relatable. Yeah. People get it. They realize like, oh, I could do that, or I could do something like that in my space, right? Yep. So that's to me,
relative.
It's relative. And now for you, you have the pleasure to decide what you want your cornerstone to be. Like, my buddy Max Finn, he's now he's one of the, top TikTok thought leaders in terms of advertising and marketing and brand building. Yeah. And he was able to pivot. He was really in Facebook. He was dominating Facebook, and he pivoted. And it's not like Max is doing everything. It becomes, think those pivots become more intentional, more massive, more substantial than before. Like if I'm going into skincare next, people are like, like he's been, it's been 5 years, 6 years. You've got him pent up back there, and you're letting him loose. Yeah. And they're like, this is going to be huge. Can I invest? So it builds up this anticipation. And so I would say that's what it is. I think that people just see that, and you were doing those things in a public light. And so they're like, wow, you got your hands in a lot of pots. And that's just because today with social media, there's so much deal flow. Yeah. And it's like, what's that? And you're like, what's that? And it's not just shiny object syndrome, but there are some interesting things that come about.
100%.
And, if I wasn't So if I had more time in the day, I would spend, like, I have such a great network, like on the NFT and,
everything.
crypto stuff. If I would say, hey, two of my buddies who run the largest groups, I was like, hey, I want to learn this stuff. I just know right now, my time is best used right now in this area, but I'm watching it because I know I'm like, hey, maybe I want to dibble and dabble in that stuff next.
Yeah.
So
100%, because you have the opportunity to do so. My last and final question, really quick, and I'm going to throw you for just for a quick second. You mentioned NFTs. And this does not have to be long. This does not have to be in depth. Okay, you might not know a gosh dang thing about it, and that's totally fucking okay. Because I don't know. I mean, I have friends that do, but when my brain just doesn't, like, my whole. I'm like the four banger. Okay, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, a four banger is like a Honda Civic. Okay, I got 4 cylinders in my brain. All right, and I am not the big block, Chevy big block, you're just sitting behind me. I ain't got 8 cylinders. I'm not a 6.0. Okay. I'm a 4 banger. Okay. So my mind just doesn't work this way. And if it were to understand it, I would have to have some self-awareness, and I would have to spend a whole shitload of time on the me time to try to figure this out, because my brain just doesn't work this way. Josh Snow, what do you think about the metaverse?
I've been shifting my thoughts on it, and we already spend more than half of our day on screens.
Yeah.
Our iPhones, TV, and computer combined in America, over half of our time is already in the metaverse. It's on Facebook, Instagram. What apps do you use?
TikTok.
And TikTok. We're technically in the metaverse already. So it's not like it's coming. It's already here. We're spending so much time. The perception is reality of social media. And so because of that, I feel like there's something there. Now, how far is it going to go? I think it's going to start with gaming. Gaming, 1/3 of the world's population, or some crazy number, games. And I feel like that's where the early adopters are for the metaverse. And I think it's an opportunity for brands to build additional recognition, because if people aren't looking at billboards because they're staying home with their Oculus on, then you never have a chance to sell a teeth whitening kit to that customer, for example, or toothpaste or a toothbrush. If they're spending 80% of their day in the metaverse just taking off to go to sleep, you never have a chance to get your product or service or mission in front of those people. So I think it's important. I think it's worth watching closely. And I think it's certainly, what I normally tell myself, I'm like, oh, crypto, I can't learn this stuff. It's going to be just, Forex, I can't learn this stuff. I've learned now that I can actually learn anything if I have a couple of the right people around me. So like you find like who's the top Bitcoin guy. And now we've got Jeff Sechner, and we've got a few guys that are in our network that know this stuff. And for me, that's more important. Like I want to read about it so I'm able to not sound like completely idiotic on the topic, but just so I know the terms.
You don't have to be the guy.
Yeah, but I don't foresee myself being the NFT guy. I will tell you a story though before we leave here. Is I tried to buy the only available Bob Ross original painting on one of the episodes of Bob Ross, and I thought that would be an interesting NFT. The Constitution went up for sale recently. I think you saw that, and I forgot who it was. Billionaire hedge funder came in and bought it because his son called him and said, "Dad, buy it," because he saw on Reddit that everyone was getting together to buy it and turn it into an NFT. So I was going to buy a Bob Ross painting and say, let me find my buddies who are in the NFT space who I can partner with. Again, abundance. I've got cash. I've got access to buy the Bob Ross painting. Who around me? And so I'm thinking about it, and I work with a lot of celebrities and a lot of licensing departments and things like that. So I'm thinking about it. But honestly, the most I can do right now is keep up with it how I can and stay in touch with the smartest guys who are my friends in the industry, and just and I play a little bit. I'll dibble and dabble some money. I'll send some money here and there. and it comes back most of the time higher than what I sent in.
Yeah.
And so I get to play a little bit.
Yeah.
And trust me, I have FOMO. Everybody has FOMO. You see this guy made $8 million on a plot of land in the digital world and metaverse.
So
it's crazy.
It'll be worth $7 million here in the next 6 months.
It's kind of nuts. You know what it's driven by? A lot of it is driven by one, discretionary spending. People couldn't leave their house for a year and a half, so they stocked up on all their cash.
100%.
2, stimulus checks, so extra money coming in. So what am I going to spend it on? And then the third thing is a lack of trust in the government and politics. Based off of what's going on, it's like I don't trust the banks because banks seem political, and so because people are losing trust, not all the way, but they're losing some trust in financial institutions, in stocks. This whole idea that started in Wall Street years ago, Occupy, Wall Street, and all of this kind of sentiment. Gen Z, I will tell you, is very, very adamant about fairness, about access, about that stuff. Yeah. So, I would say that NFTs are going to be around. I don't know to which extent, but what happened is when people don't trust the bank, they're not going to put their money there. They don't want to put it in real estate because they're scared. So where do you put money? People have to spend it, right? They have to invest in. So they see all these articles of people making millions on NFTs, and they're like, well, that's where I got to put my money. I got to put it in crypto. It's FOMO-driven market behavior and hype. But that's what the stock market is. It's all about speculation, right? How much is this shares worth? 8,000. I think it's worth 9,000. Let's sell at 8,500. And someone's like, what? Where'd you come up with that? Everything's got a price. So speculation is one of those things, but I don't know how long the sustained interest will be from the public. But I'll tell you what, if there's any type of recessive behavior in America, people are going to pull their stocks out into cash, and they're not going to want to put it back in stocks. So where are they going to put it?
Sure.
And that's what's really interesting, is that all of a sudden Bitcoin becomes a store of value at its very least. And it's becoming more and more institutionalized. Chase, or JP Morgan, all these big banks that are adopting it. And I don't know if that was the right scenario, but in other words, the institutions have figured out that we need to be involved in the Sotheby's, Christie's. A lot of established players are dibbling and dabbling inside of it. So I would follow Mark Cuban, honestly. Mark Cuban's staying close to it, how I want to stay close to it. And then honestly, beyond that, when I get a chance to catch up with my NFT buddies, I'm like, show me what you made the most money on the last 90 days. Show me what you're looking at. Like, oh,
tell me.
Here's a little caterpillar, and here's a little dog, and here's a trading card, and here's a Charizard. And I'm like, wow. I was like,
crazy.
This is amazing. You know, this is really awesome. But for me, I collect wine. We collect wine. We're starting to collect some art. There are a couple websites where you can do fractional ownership for real art. I like the stuff like that. It's hands off.
Tangible.
It's tangible. But I also hold, we hold crypto. So I like crypto too. I think it's a diversified holding. I'm just not ready yet because I'm still running my businesses. I'm not ready in a position to be like, I'm going to go all in on NFTs or crypto and put my whole portfolio there. I'm not at a point. That's not my game right now. And one of my tenets of life and business is to never play another man's game.
Amen. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, that was another one. Okay. Needless to say, Mr. Josh, no.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, dude. Like, you don't know how much I appreciate it. And it definitely is absolutely, I couldn't repay you enough to sit down with me here for, I saw just a little over an hour. And for those of you that are listening and still listening, okay, this dude is more than just a legend, but like he's like the legend. You know what I mean? I highly recommend you guys go back to the beginning of the episode and just like cut in between. Don't listen to me, listen to him talk, okay? Like when I'm talking, skip those parts, but the second the camera shifts to just him, just listen to those, because the thoughts and the methodical ways that this man thinks and the things that he shares and every word that comes out of his mouth actually means something. And so that's why I obviously got the fortunate to sit down with you for over an hour, dude, and And
course,
again,
brother.
I thank
It's
you
my
so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And obviously, you guys will definitely see Josh Snow on the episode again. I don't know exactly when, but we will lock a time down there for you guys. So if you guys want to drop in the comment section down below what questions you guys would like to ask me, what I did not do, and what the questions I did not ask that you guys maybe would like to see or hear from Josh Snow. And if you guys are on Instagram, if you guys follow us on Instagram, make sure and follow at Josh Snow. It is just Josh Snow.
That's right.
Okay, and he is verified, so do not DM the Josh_Snow and start a new teeth whitening company because they'll probably take your $5,000. I just am saying so because he does not need your money. So it's Josh Snow on Instagram. He is verified. If you guys want to follow his company, it's Snow. I follow it because the memes are hilarious and everything else is amazing, and their marketing is incredible, and it's also like a great brand to actually learn from if you want to create your own brand, not only just a tangible product, but just for your own actual brand yourself as the Austin Lewis. I look at Josh Snow because his branding is absolutely impeccable. And if you guys don't already, make sure and smash the like button on this video because it does, in fact, actually, I have learned this. It does help the YouTube algorithm. And if you guys would do me a favor, okay, there is this really big red button at the bottom. I think it's at the bottom right, and it's actually the subscribe button. If you guys would just smash the subscribe button with that little clicky, hit that sucker once, not twice, but actually 3 times. That way you guys subscribe, unsubscribe, and then subscribe again, because third time is the charm. At least that's what I'm starting to figure out in my life, Mr. Josh Snow.
I love that.
So make sure and do that, ladies and gentlemen. Josh Snow, thank you so much for being on the episode.
Thanks, brother.
Episode
Appreciate
1,
you.
dude. Okay,
Hey,
this
I'll
thing's
take
going to
that.
the fucking moon.
I appreciate that.
You know what I mean? So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you guys in a future episode.